Hey guys, welcome back. We just got done talking about sound. Let's move on to how we process this sound, or rather, we just got done talking about sine waves. Let's talk about how they are converted into what we perceive to be sound. All right, so actually focusing on audition instead of just sound, let's talk about this. This isn't going to be as long as the vision stuff, I promise. Um, it's simpler when it comes to the other senses in a way. Okay, so three major parts of the ear. The outer ear collects all the sound waves, right? This is the part we know and love so well. The part we know and love and pierce so well, right? The middle ear, this transmits all of the vibrations. We've got these little ossicles here. This is the hammer, the anvil, and the stirrup. These are the tiniest bones in your body. And when the sound waves come in, everything in here starts to vibrate. This is the eardrum tympanic membrane, timpani, right? Timpani means drum section when you're talking about a full orchestra. Tympanic membrane, eardrum. Okay. The ossicles, the membrane starts vibrating, the ossicles start vibrating, everything's vibrating, and it sends all these vibrations to the inner ear, and this is where the transduction happens. Okay, so this is sort of the equivalent to the retina, okay, specifically the photoreceptors. All right, so the inner ear, this cochlea region here is what we're going to focus on. You've got semicircular canals, there's a bunch of fluid in here. And if you were to take that and sort of unravel it, just sort of unwrap it, okay, and then we were to look inside of it, this is cochlea, and there's all kinds of this fluid in there. Okay, it's a fluid-filled tube. You get the vibrations that are going into the fluid, right? And those vibrations cause a wave in the fluid, and the wave in the fluid makes this membrane that's in the middle of the cochlea. It's called the basilar membrane. Okay, that starts to flutter or undulate, sort of. Okay, like you think of it like a piece of silk in the water, right? If you were to wave it, it's kind of what's going on with your basilar membrane. Okay, so the vibrations from the ossicles reach the cochlear fluid. The membrane starts to undulate. You get low frequencies causing ripples sort of near closer in on the basilar membrane, and higher frequencies are causing waves out towards the tip of the cochlea. Okay, now you have hair receptors that are embedded in the membrane, okay, at these locations. Okay, so you have different kinds of receptors here, as you do here, as you do here, as you do here, as you do here. These receptors sense these vibrations and they activate, right? So the hair cell motion generates impulses in the auditory neuron. Okay, so the hair cell causes the auditory neurons to activate. I keep getting ahead of myself, right? Okay, and those auditory neurons, the axons of those neurons form the auditory nerve. So remember how the axons of the ganglion cells in the retina form the optic nerve? Same idea here. Auditory neuron axons form the auditory nerve that emerges from the cochlea. Okay, from here, things head to the cochlear nucleus. Okay, so here's the cochlear nucleus. Here's our friend the cochlea, and it's transmitting information to here. You got decussation that happens from that cochlear nucleus. Nucleus. What am I, Bush? Okay, the cochlear nucleus. Thank you. So we have information that's sent over to the left and information that's sent over to the right. Decussation. Things go up to the superior olivary nucleus. Things go up to the inferior colliculus. Things go up to the medial geniculate in the thalamus. Remember, the LGN deals with visual information. That's the lateral geniculate. The medial geniculate deals with auditory information. And then that auditory information goes to primary auditory cortex. Now, the cool thing about auditory cortex is that it too is topographically organized. Remember, we were talking about the visual cortex and how you can sort of see a map of the visual field on the cortex. Same idea with auditory cortex. So the lower frequencies, remember we talked about low frequencies registering down here on the basilar membrane. Okay, those low frequencies register here on the cortex, higher frequencies register up here on this primary. This is A1, like we have a V1, we have an A1, primary auditory cortex. Secondary auditory cortex just below that. Notice how close these guys are to the speech production area, okay, and our language areas. Why? Because we need to be able to understand language as it is given to us via sound, right? Okay. The auditory pathway, auditory cortex also sends things to two pathways. It should sound familiar because we talked about this, the same kind of thing with vision. So there's a what auditory pathway and there's a where auditory pathway. So the where information, again, is going to be sent dorsally. Okay, this is your somatosensory cortex, right? Parietal cortex. This is where a lot of your sensations get sort of combined, right? So you're going to take sound information and you're going to process it for the where information. Where is that sound coming from? Okay, then you've got the what pathway from primary auditory cortex, staying down here in the temporal lobe, language, right? And that is going to allow you to identify things like language. Okay. Okay, so we say that audition is good for balance, or we call it vestibulation. It's actually not really audition or sound that does this. It's actually the semicircular canals, okay? Here are the semicircular canals, so named because, hey, look, they're semicircles. Cool. Okay, so there's three of them. There's always three of them. They're filled with fluid. Okay, so the bottom here is an example of one canal. Okay? Sorry. Yes, here. So here's a semicircular canal. Now, each of the canals has what they call a cupula that's attached to the hair cell. Okay? Here's this cupula, this cone thing here. So here's your hair cell, and here are hair cells. Here is the cupula. Now, when you turn your head, I want you to, I don't know if man, I wish I were there so I could make the hand motion. So if you were to imagine that you're turning a round doorknob, right? So you turn the round doorknob to the right, okay? And when you turn that doorknob to the right, the acceleration of the liquid inside, I realize that doorknobs don't have liquid inside of them, but just bear with me. The liquid inside is going to go the opposite direction, right? So your head rotates this way, the liquid's going the other way. The cupula, the direction that the cupula moves is going to sort of tell you, it's giving you information about the way that you just moved your head. Well, if the cupula is moving this way, you must turn your head that way, right? Okay, so the feedback from the cupula plus the visual information that you're getting, right? All combined in somatosensory cortex, all up there in the parietal lobe. That information is all combined for balance. Okay, so balance is a matter of visual input and not necessarily auditory input, but functions of the semicircular canal, which lie in the auditory sort of mechanism. Okay. So that's it for that, and I will see you in the next lecture. I'm not sure which sense we cover next. It's a surprise. See you there.